Ulumuddin of Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Abu Hamid Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Ghazali. Whole lineage, सबका नाम Muhammad 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 ibn Muhammad ibn Muhammad ibn Muhammad, I don't know how many. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi is writing Asrarus Sawm wa Shurutuhul Batina, and he is mentioning Sawmul Khusus, and he said وَتَمَامُهُ بِسِتَّةِ أُمُورٍ, 6 things will perfect the Sawmul Khusus. One is, number 1, fasting of the eyes, fasting of the tongue, fasting of the ears, and fasting of the other limbs from all types of sins. That's 4. Now we move on to number 5. Al-Khamis, Allah yastakthira min at-ta'am al-halal waqt al-iftar بحيث يمتلئ جوفه فما من وعاء أبغض إلى الله عز وجل من بطن ملئ من حلال. That at the time of iftar, one should not eat so much of even halal food that his belly is full, because there is no container or bag or sack more disliked to Allah than a belly which is full, even if it's with halal. One hadith says, Ma mala abnu Adam vi'a'an sharran min batni. Son of Adam does not fill any bag which is worse than the belly. So belly is the worst bag you can fill. So even with halal food, do not overeat. Previously he talked about haram food, that if you fast during the day and do iftar with haram food, then it is like running away from the rain and standing under the gutter and getting wet with the whole water dropping on you. Or in order to construct a palace, you demolish a whole city. So that was previously. Now he is saying even with halal food, you should not eat so much that you are overeating and you become obese. You eat so much that you can't get to the masjid for Maghrib, and Isha Taraweeh, oh, you struggle and you barely manage to perform your Isha and your Taraweeh Salah. So don't eat so much even from halal food. وكيف يستفاد من الصوم قهر عدو الله وكسر الشهوة إذا تدارك الصائم عند فطره ما فاته ضحوة نهاره. How can one benefit by fasting in crushing the enemy of Allah, Iblis, and in killing off the shahwat and the desire, breaking the shahwat desire, when he makes up, when the Sa'im makes up at the time of iftar whatever he had missed during the day. Meaning, if you stayed a bit hungry during the day, but at iftar time you do talafi mafat, and you eat so much that you don't realize how much you are eating, you make up for that hunger at the time of iftar. How can you benefit with the crushing of the ego and enemy of Allah, controlling the shahwat and desire? وَرُبَّمَا يَزِيدُ عَلَيْهِ فِي أَلْوَانِ الطَّعَامِ. In fact, many times we increase the varieties of food at the time of iftar. حتى استمرت العادة بأن تدخر جميع الأطعمة لرمضان فيوكل من الأطعمة فيه ما لا يوكل في عدة أشهر. To the extent that it has been a continuous habit of some that they store all types of food for Ramadan, and they eat in Ramadan so many varieties of foods which they don't eat in other months. Ramadan mein इतने खाने किस्म किस्म के होते हैं कि वो दूसरे महीनों में नहीं होते हैं, तो कसरे शहवत कैसे हासिल होगी? व मालूम अन्न मकसूद सौमिल खिवाउ व कसरुल हवा लितक़वन नफ्सु अला तक़वा. It is well known that the aim and the goal of fasting is to keep the belly empty and to crush the ego and the desire, so that the ego can get energy and strength upon taqwa. ये मकसूद है. Main aim of fasting is you keep your stomach a little bit empty, and when it's empty, then your hawa, desire, can be controlled and broken, and your taqwa can gain strength, and you can become more parhezgar and more muttaqi. Hawa means carnal desires. हमारे हजरत नवरुल्लाह मरकदहू मौलाना यूसुफ मुताला साहब once mentioned that Hazrat Shah Wasiullah Ilahabadi rahmatullah alayh, he was once coming for Jummah Salah and he had to do bayan in Jummah. So he was thinking, what bayan shall I do in Jummah today? At the doorstep of the masjid, he met some elderly guy person, and Assalamu alaikum Hazrat, how are you? How are you? And he said, Hazrat, ये हवा ने बाहर प्रॉब्लम कर दिया है, ये हवा ने मुसीबत कर रखी है, हवा की वजह से बड़ी तकलीफ में हूँ. Even gas, internal gas ने बहुत प्रॉब्लम कर दिया है हवा ने. And हजरत शाह वसीउल्लाह साहब से, ओहो माशाल्लाह, आपने तो मुझको जुम्मा का मजमून दे दिया. You've given me a topic for my Jummah bayan. And Hazrat did the whole bayan that day on hawa. And this hawa means hawa nafsi, khahishat, desires of the nafs. He was talking about hawa gas, and Hazrat talked in the bayan about hawa nafs, khahishat nafs. And Quran Sharif talks about hawa, وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَى فَيُضِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Do not follow your whimsical desires, hawa nafsi. Otherwise, your hawa will distract you and divert you away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen those people who have made their God their desire? Meaning their desire is their God. As we worship God, they worship their desires. Then after their desires, any desire that comes in the heart and mind, they fulfill it. They are worshipping their hawa and their desire. And lots of ayat of this following hawa. Hadith Sharif, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna akhwafa ma akhafu ala ummati al-hawa wa tul al-amal. Two things I fear worst for my ummah. One is hawa and the other is high hopes and long aspirations of long life. فَأَمَّا الْهَوَى فَيَصُدُّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ وَأَمَّا طُولُ الْأَمَلِ فَيُنْسِي الْآخِرَةِ. As for hawa and carnal desires, they stop a person from the truth, from accepting the truth. And as for tulul amal, having long aspirations and high hopes, they cause one to forget the life after death, akhirat. He doesn't remember akhirat. He's always into dunya, paisa, thinking about dunya only. So, Imam Ghazali is saying the aim of Sawm is to keep the stomach empty and to break the hawa and carnal desires. لِتَقْوَى النَّفْسُ عَلَى التَّقْوَى لِتَقْوَى قَوِيَّ يَقْوَى قُوَّةً, so that the nafs can gain quwwat upon taqwa and fear of Allah, remembrance of Allah. وَإِذَا دَفَعَتِ الْمِعْدَةُ مِنْ ضَحْوَةِ نَهَارٍ إِلَى الْعِشَاءِ or عَشَاءِ حَتَّى هَاجَتْ شَهْوَتُهَا وَقَوِيَّتْ رَغْبَتُهَا ثُمَّ أُطْعِمَتْ مِنَ اللَّذَّاتِ وَأُشْبِعَتْ زَادَتْ لَذَّتُهَا وَتَضَاعَفَتْ قُوَّتُهَا وَانْبَعَثَ مِنَ الشَّهَوَاتِ مَا عَسَاهَا كَانَتْ رَاكِدَةً لَوْ تُرِكَتْ عَلَى عَادَتِهَا. when the mi'dah and the stomach is pushed in the midday up to the evening, and is pushed away from food, prevented from food and drink and desires from the morning and midday and afternoon until evening, until its desire and shahwat erupts, and it strengthens, and the raghbat of food, it strengthens and becomes strong, and the desire becomes strong, and then it is fed laziz and tasty food, and it is filled with tasty food, then the lazzat and the taste of the food increases, and the strength of the mi'dah also doubles, and then the mi'dah erupts with shahwat, such shahwat which might have been settled, like when the dust is settled, had they been left on their own, on their regular habit. Meaning, if the dust is under the water, you leave it like that, it will remain there. But if you walk on it, then all that the sand and the dust and everything will come up. Similarly, if the mi'dah is kept hungry and thirsty during the day until evening, and then in evening you fill it up with all different types of foods, then that shahwat which was settled down under normal days is erupted and is brought up, and it increases. The shahwat desire increases, and the energy increases. You want more and more food. So the aim of roza and fasting is eliminated, it's not there. This is why you have to reduce your intake of food. Like we hear from the mashayikh, previous mashayikh, they used to say, تقليل الطعام, تقليل المنام, تقليل الكلام, and قلة اختلاط مع الأنام. 4 things should be reduced for a Sufi. If you want to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, control your nafs, you need to lessen 4 things. Number 1, قلة الطعام, reduction in food. Eat little, just enough. And qillatul manam, sleep little, stay awake more. And qillatul kalam, talk less, don't talk too much. And qillati ikhtilat ma'al anam, reduce your mixing with people. Don't mix too much with people. Keep yourself to yourself. Keep low profile, just keep yourself to yourself. Too much ikhtilat and mixing has its own perils. Ghibat, backbiting, slandering, abusing, fighting, arguing. These things happen when you associate too much with people. So mashayikh say this. Ghazali is saying that over here, that you need to reduce your food intake if you want to control your desires and if you want to gain the full benefit of roza. فروح الصوم وسره تضعيف القوى التي هي وسائل الشيطان في العود إلى الشرور، ولن يحصل ذلك إلا بالتقليل، وهو أن يأكل أكلته التي كان يأكلها كل ليلة لو لم يصم. The ruh of fasting and the secret of fasting is to weaken those faculties and those ways which are wasila and means of shaitan to return to the shararat and evilness. And this will not be gained except by reducing the food. And that is that the person eats that amount of food which he would normally eat during other days, other nights, if he was not fasting. When he is not fasting, he eats a little bit. So even when he is fasting, he should eat that little bit as well. فَأَمَّا إِذَا جَمَعَ مَا كَانَ يَأْكُلُ ضَحْوَةً إِلَى مَا كَانَ يَأْكُلُ لَيْلًا فَلَمْ يَنْتَفِعْ بِصَوْمِهِ. However, if he was to combine what he used to eat in lunch to what he is eating after iftar in dinner, then he will not benefit from his fast. بل من الآداب ألا يكثر النوم ألا يكثر النوم بالنهار حتى يحس بالجوع والعطش ويستشعر ضعف القوى فيصفو عند ذلك قلبه ويستديم في كل ليلة قدرا من الضعف حتى يخف عليه تهجده وأوراده. Rather, it is from the adab and etiquettes of fasting that one does not sleep too much during the day, so that he can feel the hunger and the thirst, and so that he can feel the weakening of those quwa and strengths which strengthen shaitan and the ways of shaitan. So when they become weak, that is when his qalb will be cleansed and purified and become soft and clear. And one should make an attempt every night to uh, keep within himself little bit of weakness as well, so that he can get up for tahajjud and awrad, and the awrad and wazaif and tahajjud can become light for him. Otherwise, if he's eaten too much, then he'll sleep too much as well. Because when a person eats and drinks too much, he sleeps too much as well. So reduce your intake and feel a little bit of the hunger and the thirst and the weakness, so that your heart can become clean. And every night when you reduce a little bit continuously, then you will have that ability to get up for tahajjud and awrad. فَعَسَى الشَّيْطَانَ أَلَّا يَحُومَ عَلَى قَلْبِهِ فَيَنْظُرَ إِلَى مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ. It is then hoped that shaitan will not roam around his heart. Then he will be able to see the kingdom of the heavens. He will be pulled towards the kingdom of heaven. Shaitan will not be around his heart. His heart will be clean, and he will be able to see Malakutus Samawat, the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heaven. وَلَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ عِبَارَةٌ عَنِ اللَّيْلَةِ الَّتِي يَنْكَشِفُ فِيهَا شَيْءٌ مِّنَ الْمَلَكُوتِ. Wow. Ghazali is saying, Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, is the name of that night in which a little bit of that malakut and bashahat and kingdom becomes munkashif and opens up before a person. If you keep fasting properly and your heart is clean, then in Laylatul Qadr, your heart will be so clean that the Malakutus Samawat will open up before you. You'll be able to see the kingdom of the heaven. وَهُوَ الْمُرَادُ بِقَوْلِهِ إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. And this is meant by Allah saying, indeed, we have sent it down in the night of power. وَمَنْ جَعَلَ بَيْنَ قَلْبِهِ وَبَيْنَ صَدْرِهِ مِخْلَاطًا مِنَ الطَّعَامِ فَهُوَ عَنْهُ مَحْجُوبٌ. Whoever places between his qalb, his heart, and between his chest a large sack of food, then he is mahjoob, and he is covered and veiled and curtained from seeing the malakutus samawat. बात हो गई ना. जो आदमी अपने कल्ब और सदर के बीच में एक बड़ा थैला खाने का रख दे और उसको भरता ही जाए, तो वो लैलतुल कदर में भी मलकूतुस समावात के मुशाहदा से महजूब होगा, हिजाब में होगा, कर्टन में होगा. जो खाता ही रहे, खाने के पीछे पड़ा रहे, पूरा रमजान खाने में ही गुजारे, उसको ऊपर आसमानी बादशाहत कहां से नजर आएगी? वो महजूब होगा उससे. वमन अखला मिअदतहु फला यकफी ذلك لرفع الحجاب ما لم يخلو همته عن غير الله عز وجل وذلك هو الأمر كله ومبدأ جميع ذلك تقليل الطعام وسيأتي له مزيد بيان في كتاب الأطعمة إن شاء الله عز وجل. And whosoever keeps his mi'dah empty, then even that is not sufficient in removing the veils and curtains as long as he does not empty his heart and mind and his ambitions from Ghayrullahi Azza wa Jal, anything other than Allah. When he empties his heart and mind from all other things and empties his belly from all types of foods, then that is al-amru kulluhu, that is the real matter, and that is when he will get there. And the beginning of all this is reduction in food. When you reduce your consumption, that is the starting point. So reduce your consumption of food and drink, and then slowly work your way up. Keep reducing, and then reduce your connection with the creation and increase your connection with Allah. It is then both things will combine and you will see the kingdom of the heavens. And this was the condition of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We read in the morning that when Ramzan would start, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam's color would change, and he would do extra mujahada and worship. He would barely sleep during the day and night, very little sleep, and he would keep proper fast and roza. And we see Salafi Salihin following him in that regard. Sahaba, Tabi'een, Tabi'i Tabi'een, they reached that pinnacle by following in this sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Among our mashayikh, Shah Abdul Rahim Raipuri rahmatullah alayhi, who is Khalifa Hazrat Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi rahmatullah alayhi, very Sufi Buzurg, very pious personality, muttaqi, the most humble person you could think of. In Ramadan, his Khadim, Shah Abdul Qadir Raipuri rahmatullah alayhi said, Hazrat would barely eat or drink anything. Even in iftari, he would take 2-3 small finjans of tea without milk, kahwa. And in sehri, similar. Khadim said, Hazrat, you're not eating anything, you're getting really weak. And he replied, Alhamdulillah, Jannat ka maza aa raha hai. I am feeling the lazzat and the taste of Jannat. Allah Pak used to give him that energy. Otherwise, if a person keeps hungry, how is he going to survive? Then, when there was a lot of weakness, they persuaded him to eat something, maybe a little bit of chapati, a roti with that tea. He agreed to that. Otherwise, he said, I don't even feel the need for that. So in Ramadan, they used to do lots of mujahada. And one of the bases of mujahada is qillatul ta'am, reduce the intake of halal food. This is also point number 5 among the Sawmul Khusus. They fast from fasting of the eyes, fasting of the tongue, fasting of the ears, fasting of the other limbs, and now fasting of the stomach, even from halal food. Even at night when you're allowed to eat, you reduce your intake, you don't overeat. And this is ajib, amazing, it has its effect. Bhuk, it brings shine and gloss on the heart. Mashayikh say, when a person is hungry, then his nafs shrinks. And when the nafs shrinks, the heart opens up. Because in your qalb, there is a door for the nafs and a door for the ruh. So when the door of the nafs is wide, the door of the ruh, it shrinks. But if you shrink the door of the nafs, then the door of the ruh becomes wide open. And then your ruh is strong, your ruhaniyat and your spirituality is strengthened, and then you will be able to see the other world and many things from there. You will see nice, sweet dreams. You will see Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam in your dream, Mashayikh, your Ahlullah in your dreams, and you will see the other worlds. When Ramzan started, on the second roza, I think, I saw our Hazrat Rahmatullah in my dream. Twice. First I saw him, I forgot what I saw. Second time I saw him, Hazrat was really happy, he was smiling. And he gave me some nasihat as well. So look after this properly, and said something like that. But I could see the smile on his face, very happy. So you see your mashayikh and it cheers you up. And then you also feel like doing more ibadat, maybe reading some Quran for Hazrat, giving some sadaqah. So their ruhaniyat, you benefit from their spirituality and their ruhaniyat. And this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to do these things in order to strengthen your ruh. A very good point Imam Ghazali has mentioned over here, that even at iftar time, don't eat too much halal food as well. Control your intake. Now this is सूफियाना बात, लेकिन हमारे ज़माने में हमारे क़ुव्वा थोड़े कमज़ोर हैं, इसलिए हम कहेंगे कि थोड़ा बहुत खाओ भी, अपना ख्याल करो, ज़्यादा ना खाना लेकिन थोड़ा सा खाओ. Look after yourself, look after your health, eat, because we need to eat, because हमारा we 11 months, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us, Allah has given us lots of food, drink. We alhamdulillah eat, we do thank of shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we go down this route, we could go too much down and then harm ourselves. So where we need to do some other dini work as well, then we have to, play with our nafs, give and take, in order to control it. We want to achieve this as well, but we want to remain healthy as well. As-sadis, number 6. أن يكون قلبه بعد الإفطار معلقا مضطربا بين الخوف والرجاء إذ ليس يدري أن يقبل صومه فهو من المقربين أو يرد عليه فهو من الممقوتين. Sixth point is that even after iftar from the roza, his heart should be muallaq, suspended, and muztarib, continuously shaking between khawf and raja, fear and hope, because one does not know whether his fast and his sawm was accepted, so he can be from the muqarrabeen, or whether his sawm was rejected and he is from the mamquteen, upon whom Allah was displeased and angry. Even after fasting properly, Salihin used to be anxious. They used to be scared. पता नहीं हमारा रोजा कबूल हुआ या नहीं हुआ. बड़ी सरकार है, बड़ी सरकार में रोजा कबूल हो ना हो, उसका कबूल कर लें तो शान है उनकी, शान रहीमी करीमी है. अगर धुतकारना चाहें तो भगा दें, धुतकार भी दें, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं उनको. तो डरता रहे आदमी, इबादत के बाद भी डरे. इसीलिए कहा वल यकुन कज़ालिक फी आखिर कुल्ल इबादतिन यफरुगु मिनहा, and this should be his condition at the end of every ibadat which he does. Whenever you finish your ibadat worship, you should not boast over your ibadat. You should be scared and fearful and anxious whether my ibadat was accepted or not accepted. It could be accepted, it could be rejected. If Allah is not happy with my ibadat, He would say, go, I don't like your ibadat. Or it could be thrown on our faces. And it does happen. Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, people pray namaz. He said, if one who prays with proper wuzu, taharat, khushu, khuzu, ruku, sujud, on time, proper, with its sharait, then that salah goes up while it's shining, nurani, and it makes dua for the musalli, hafizakallah kama hafiztani. May Allah look after you like you looked after me. On the other hand, if a person prays salat out of time and he doesn't do the taharat properly, nor the khushu, khuzu and ruku sujud properly, then it is rolled up like an old piece of cloth, a rag is rolled up and is thrown on his face, and the salah says to him, Dayya'ak Allah kama dayya'tani. May Allah abandon you, destroy you like you abandoned and destroyed me. So, at the end of every ibadat, We should be anxious, hope for acceptance, but fearful of rejection. This is the sixth adab. فقد روي عن الحسن ابن أبي الحسن البصري أنه مر بقوم وهم يضحكون. Hasan Basri passed by some people who were laughing loudly. فقال إن الله عز وجل جعل شهر رمضان مضمارا لخلقه. Indeed, Allah made the month of Ramadan a race course for His creation. يستبقون فيه يستبقون فيه لطاعته, in which they are running for obedience of Allah. فَسَبَقَ قَوْمٌ فَفَازُوا. Some people rushed ahead and succeeded. وَتَخَلَّفَ أَقْوَامٌ فَخَابُوا. And some people remained behind and they failed. فَالْعَجَبُ كُلَّ الْعَجَبِ لِلضَّاحِكِ اللَّاعِبِ. Surprise, full surprise for the person who is laughing and playing. فِي الْيَوْمِ الَّذِي فَازَ فِيهِ السَّابِقُونَ وَخَابَ فِيهِ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. In the day in which the sabiqeen and the runners ahead have succeeded, and those who remained in falsehood and lagged behind have failed. أما والله لو كشف الغطاء لاشتغل المحسن بإحسانه والمسيء بإساءته. By Allah, the thing is that if the curtains were removed, then the muhsin, the doer of good, would become busy in his good doing, and the doer of evil would be preoccupied with his evilness. أي كان سرور المقبول يشغله عن اللعب وحسرة المردود تسد عليه باب الضحك. He means to say that the joy of the accepted one, maqbool one, would distract him from his playing pursuit, and the regret of the rejected one would close down upon him the door of laughter. حسن بصری رحمت اللہ علیہ نے کہا کہ اللہ پاک نے رمضان کے مہینے کو گھوڑ دوڑ کا میدان بنایا ہے مخلوق کے لیے. اس میدان میں لوگ اللہ کی فرما برداری کے لیے دوڑ لگاتے ہیں. اب کچھ لوگ تو تیزی سے دوڑتے ہیں, بہت محنت کرتے ہیں, آگے نکل جاتے ہیں, جیت جاتے ہیں, اور دوسرے لوگ پیچھے رہ جاتے ہیں اور فیل ہو جاتے ہیں. تو جو لوگ ہنس رہے تھے ان کو حسن بصری نے یہ نصیحت کی کہ آپ ہنسی کیوں کر رہے ہیں, زور زور سے قہقہے کیوں مار رہے ہیں. قسم خدا کی اگر اللہ پاک وہ تمہارے سامنے کرٹن ہٹا دے اور پردے ہٹا دے تو جو نیک عمل کرنے والے ہیں وہ اپنی نیکی میں مشغول ہو جائیں, جو برائی کرنے والے ہیں وہ اپنی برائی میں مشغول ہو جائیں. مطلب یہ ہے کہ نیک عمل کرنے والے کو اتنی خوشی کہ یہ جو کھیل تماشا اور ہنسی ہے یہ اس کے لیے بیکار ہو جائے, اور جو برائی کرنے والا ہے رمضان میں بھی جس نے برائی کی ہے اس کو اتنا افسوس کہ اس کی یہ ہنسی وسی سب بند ہو جائے, وہ رونا شروع کر دے. اس لیے تم ہنسو مت اور کوشش کرو کہ محنت کرو, نیک عمل کرو, تاکہ جس دن ہنسنے کا دن ہے اس دن تم ہنس سکو, وہ خوشی کا دن ہو. ربعی ابن حراش ایک محدث ہیں, تابعین میں سے ہیں. انہوں نے قسم کھائی تھی کہ میں اس وقت تک نہیں ہنسوں گا جب تک مجھے میرا انجام پتہ نہ چل جائے. پوری زندگی وہ کبھی نہیں ہنسے, لیکن جب ان کا انتقال ہوا تو ان کو غسل دینے والے کہتے ہیں کہ ہم ان کو نہلا رہے تھے چارپائی پر, اس دوران جب تک ہم غسل دیتے رہے وہ ہنستے ہی تھے, کیونکہ وہ دوسری دنیا میں ان کا انجام اور ان کی جنت کھل گئی تھی ان کے سامنے. تو یہ ہے اس کی حقیقت. آگے بس فنش کر دیتا ہوں میں. وعن الاحنف ابن قیس, احنف ابن قیس was told انک شیخ کبیر, قیل له انک شیخ کبیر وان الصیام یضعفک. You are an old man and siyam is weakening you. فقال إني أعده لسفر طويل. I am preparing for a long journey. والصبر على طاعة الله سبحانه أهون من الصبر على عذابه. And being patient for Allah's obedience is easier than being patient on the azab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can't do sabr on the azab of Allah. I can't tolerate and take the azab of Allah. So I might as well do sabr and be strong in Allah's ita'at in this dunya, so I can protect myself from the azab of Allah and take the sawab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So old man keeping lots of roza, and someone said, you're getting weak. He said, I'm preparing for a long journey, and to do sabr for Allah's obedience is easier than doing sabr on the azab of Allah. فَهَذِهِ هِيَ الْمَعَانِي الْبَاطِنَةُ فِي الصَّوْمِ. These are the internal secrets of fasting. Again, in Qulta, Imam Ghazali has mentioned one question and his answer, and then Asrarul Sawm will finish. We'll inshallah read this when we come back, inshallah. After 1 week, I'm only going for 1 week, don't worry, I'm not going forever. Inshallah, a week on Wednesday, we'll be back, inshallah. And I'm only going now because I can do i'tikaf over here. If I didn't go now, then I would have had to do i'tikaf in Medina Masjid. So I said, no, I'll come in the middle for a week, I'll come back, and this year I want to do i'tikaf here, inshallah. i'tikaf के लिए हमने फॉर्म बनाया था, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, फिलअप हो गया है, 35 नेम्स आ गए हैं. तो मैंने कहा बस उसको बंद कर दो, क्लोज. तो ऑनलाइन क्लोज कर दिया है. अब लोकल मकामी जो हैं उनमें से किसी को बैठना हो, उसके लिए थोड़ी जगह रखी है, ताकि जो हमारे मुसल्ली हजरात हैं, इन मुसल्लियों में से किसी को बैठना हो तो अहमद को या मौलाना बिलाल इसहाक जी को नाम दे दें, तो फिर उनका भी नाम ज्वाइन कर सकेंगे हम. एक नंबर 2, टुनाइट इंशाल्लाह तरावी बाद हमारे यहाँ चंदा होगा गज्जा के लिए. वो मैं वहाँ गया था प्रेस्टन जामे मस्जिद में भी, फिर कल शुहदा में भी मौलाना इलियास के यहाँ वो अबू माजीन करके थे, उनकी चैरिटी है. पहले वो इंटरपाल के लिए आया करते थे, लेकिन फिर उन्होंने वो बंद कर दिया इंटरपाल को, तो वो दूसरे तरीके से उधर इमदाद भेजते हैं. और उसमें जो इनकी जो चैरिटियां हैं गैर मुस्लिम, उसकी मदद लेकर के वहाँ इमदाद पहुँचाते हैं. लेकिन इमदाद पहुँचा रहे हैं वो, और ट्रस्टवर्दी भी हैं, रिलायबल भी हैं. तो मैंने देखा कि जुम्मा मस्जिद में भी हैं, यहाँ भी हैं. मैंने ज़रा पूछा, फिर मौलाना हमारे कारी नईम जो हैं वो भी उनके लिए पहले काम करते थे उनकी चैरिटी के लिए. उन्होंने कहा कि ये बहुत रिलायबल हैं, ट्रस्टवर्दी हैं. तो फिर कारी नईम इस्माइल ने ही उनको फ़ोन किया और उनको बुलाया कि यहाँ आ जाओ, हम इंशाल्लाह आपको कुछ कर देंगे. तो आज शाम को ये गज्जा के लिए कलेक्शन होगा आफ्टर तरावी. तो आपसे दरख्वास्त है कि प्लीज़ ट्राई एंड ब्रिंग व्हाटएवर यू कैन in Taraweeh, because after Taraweeh there will be collection for our brothers and sisters and children in Gaza, inshallah. तो अब ये तो हो गया. अब inshallah we'll see you after a week, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma lakal hamdu wa lakal shukr. Allahumma la nuhsi sana'an alayk anta kama athnayta ala nafsik. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين. تقبل منا صيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا واغفر لنا ما كان منا. اللهم سلمنا لرمضان وسلم رمضان لنا وتسلمه منا متقبلا. اللهم وفقنا في هذا الشهر المبارك لما تحب وترضى من القول والفعل والعمل والنية والهدي والصيام والقيام والتراويح والتهجد والاعتكاف وتحري ليلة القدر وتلاوة القرآن والذكر والدعاء والاستغفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. پروردگار عالم محض اپنے فضل و کرم سے ہم سب کی مغفرت فرما دیجیے, پوری امت کی مغفرت فرما دیجیے, پوری امت پر رحم کر دیجیے, کرم کر دیجیے, معاف فرما دیجیے, خیر و برکت کے فیصلے فرمائیے. پروردگار عالم پوری امت کے حال پر رحم فرمائیے, خصوصاً فلسطین اور اقصی اور غزہ کے مسلمانوں پر رحم فرمائیے پروردگار عالم. کل بھی یا اللہ پتہ نہیں کتنوں کو شہید کر دیا، اور ادھر یا اللہ اس بینک میں بھی یا اللہ بیچاری کو بوڑھی خاتون، ان کی پوری واڑی اور پورا مکان اور سب ان کی پراپرٹی یا اللہ سیٹلرز نے آ کر کے چوری کر لی، ان کو نکال بھگا دیا، بیچاری وہ وہاں کھڑی رو رہی ہے. یا اللہ انہوں نے تو حد کر دی ہے ظلم کی. یا اللہ اب آپ ہی تشریف لے آئیے میدان میں اور ان کی پکڑ فرمائیے، اور یا اللہ اس دور کے فرعونوں کو بھی یا اللہ اسی طرح نمٹائیے جیسے آپ نے پچھلے فرعونوں کو نمٹایا تھا. یا اللہ اور ہمارے یا اللہ بیچارے نردوز بے قصور معصوم بچوں پر رحم کر دیجیے، کرم کر دیجیے. یا اللہ ان کے حق میں کچھ خیر کے فیصلے فرما دیجیے. پورے عالم اسلام پر رحم فرما دیجیے، پورے عربستان پر رحم فرمائیے، عرب اور عجم پر رحم فرمائیے. ہمارے ہندو پاک افغان برما بنگال روہنگیا ویگر چائنا کشمیر افریقہ امریکہ یا اللہ عربستان افریقہ سوڈان جہاں جہاں مشکل حالات ہیں یا اللہ ان کو کچھ کنٹرول میں لے آئیے. یا اللہ آپ ہی کچھ آسانیاں فرمائیے، مدد فرمائیے، رہبری فرمائیے، خیر کے فیصلے فرمائیے. پروردگار عالم ہمارا رمضان قبول فرمائیے، روزے قبول فرمائیے، تراویح قبول فرمائیے، ٹوٹی پھوٹی عبادتیں قبول فرمائیے، ٹوٹی پھوٹی دعائیں قبول فرمائیے. ہماری حفاظت فرمائیے، ہماری ستاری فرمائیے، ہماری روزی میں برکت عطا فرمائیے. یا اللہ دوست احباب بڑی محبت سے بیٹھتے ہیں سنتے ہیں، ان کے سننے کو قبول فرمائیے اور سب کی تمام دلی مرادیں پوری فرمائیے. یا اللہ ہر خیر عطا فرمائیے، ہر شر سے بچائیے. کل ہمارا سفر بھی آسان فرمائیے، خیر و عافیت سے لے جائیے اور خیر و عافیت سے واپس لائیے، اور دین کی خدمت جم کر ڈٹ کر کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے، اور ہماری جو کوتاہی ہے، سستی ہے، کمزوری ہے، اس کو معاف فرمائیے. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. صلی اللہم وسلم علی سیدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین.